Hey, welcome guys to another Monday analysis. Every Monday we release a video analyzing African economy, African business, and African sectors as well institutions that work in Africa. So today we have a great video. We're going to be talking about ICC's, right? International Criminal Court, right? So we're going to be talking about how this court has been weaponized to actually keep Africa the way it is, right? So I'm going to give a little bit of like a history about ICC's. It was founded in 2002 in Rome. That's where the headquarters is in Italy. The mission, it was to prosecute crime against humanity, right? And then I'm going to give you a little bit of story to kind of understand how this thing goes. So for example, I think it was 2015, 2016, I'm not sure yet, but the then president of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, he was in South Africa, right? He was attending I think it was the AU meeting, African Union meeting, and the ICC's had a warrant for arrest. So as soon as he landed South Africa, ICC started pressuring South Africa to arrest him. They said, you got to arrest him, you guys are a member of ICC's. And mind you, United States is not a member of ICC's, right? So some countries, some of the big countries are not really a member of ICC's. So South Africa say, no, we're not going to arrest him. Actually, at the beginning, they said they were going to arrest him, but in the end, they actually helped him to escape. They let him go in the middle of the night, get on a plane, and he was in South Sudan. The story was over. But, this is some, Western hypocrisy. That always happens. And a lot of people seems not to care, right? So we're going to go through some few, cases as well. Look, compared to some other cases which have been done and went unprosecuted. So, for example, one of the famous cases is Omar al-Bashir, right? To this day, there's still a warrant to arrest him. Even if he has left the presidency, has not been yet extradited to ISIS, right? So he is accused of Sudan war in Sudan, and also the crime against humanity in Darfur. I want you to pay attention on these terms, crime against humanity, because this is going to be the case going to be used all over the places, right? So Omar al-Bashir, obvious there's a case to arrest him, but he has not been arrested yet because few stuff that some countries don't want to extradite him. So he's charged by the crime of war and the crime against humanity in Sudan in a city called Darfur. So now we're going to look at another interesting character, right? And this guy's name is Jean-Pierre Bemba. So he's a former vice president of DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and he was indicted or accused of crime against humanity. Again, crime against humanity in Central Africa. So I don't know yet the update information, but we can actually look it up right now if he's arrested yet. You know what I mean? So basically, he was arrested in 2008. They say that prior to his arrest and surrender to the ICC in 2008, Bemba served as a vice president of Republic of Congo. So this is the same code that does not prosecute anybody except Africans, right? So another case we have right here is Safar al-Islam Gaddafi. So this one you have to be very, very interesting actually, because they charged the son of Gaddafi of crime against humanity in 2011 during this Libya civil war, right? So you have to understand that 2011 Libya civil war. They charged the son of Gaddafi, but nobody charged Nicolas Sarkozy, French president who unleashed the war to Libya. I think during 2013 or 14 when they were killing Gaddafi, right? So there is a lot of hypocrisy going on within this criminal court. For me, I don't find it legitimate court enough for people to even be member to it. I think all African countries should actually get out of that court because it's a stupid court and it serves no purpose except the interest of the Western countries, right? So another very, very famous case is the Uhuru and Ruto case, right? The Uhuru and Ruto case, they were charged with a crime against humanity. So all these four guys just showed you right here, they were charged with the same crime, which is a crime against humanity. So the charge was that they incited violence in 2007, 2008, the post-elections violence in Kenya. But they actually succeeded. They won the case. They actually became free men. And that's why Uhuru became a president. He kept the presidency. And Ruto became a president after that, right? So the idea of this court, if you look at it, is fear-mongering. It's basically scaring these African leaders. If you don't do whatever we want you to do, we're gonna arrest you. We're gonna put you in jail. We're gonna dig some dirt on you, and you're gonna become, So you end up becoming a puppet. So the impact of this code on Africa is really three. You can say three stuff. Number two is keeping African leaders in check. So it basically is, hey, if you don't let our companies, our American multinational corporation comes in your country and take over your resources, I extradite them, pay your people less money, and take all the profit back to the United States. Hey, you have done something bad, and we're gonna take you to ICC's. We're gonna arrest you. Hey, if you don't do this, if you don't allow the capitalist rules, if you don't become United States puppet, we're gonna arrest you, right? So now we have another thing, dictatorship. So this is actually one of the impact of ISIS. Some leaders in Africa, they tend to hold on power because they're scared that as soon as they get off the power, they're going to be arrested by ICC. And ISIS has a little bit of clause, has a little bit of exceptions when somebody's still in power. So African leaders choose to stay in power until they die because they're scared. As long as they get off the power, the ISIS will start pursuing them for the criminal charges. So you see, the code can, this code can actually promote dictatorship as well authoritarian government. So the other thing is turning the leaders into a puppet by intimidations, right? So as I said before, is this code exists to intimidate African leaders, to become puppet to the Western propaganda, Western hegemony, Western systems like democracy, privatizations, market regulations, and on the threat that if you don't do that, we're not going to give you enough money. But the most important thing, if you don't do that, we are going to indict you in ICC for the crime you have done. Maybe that made up crime or the not real crime. Either way, they're going to indict you. That's their program. But what is the hypocrisy here? Everybody who is, even if you're a toddler, 12 years old, 15 years old, you understand that there's a hypocrisy. You understand these cases. There's some people who are really missing on this case. You know what I mean? And there's this interview the BBC actually done this month, May 2023, where they asked Julius Malema if he will arrest Vladimir Putin once he goes to South Africa for BRICS meeting. And Vladimir Putin told them one thing is, we're not going to arrest the guy because even if you're a member of ISIS, but ISIS has been very hypocrite. There's been hypocrites, right? Because you want to arrest Putin for the war in Ukraine, but you don't want to arrest Bush, you don't want to arrest Clinton, you don't want to arrest Barack Obama, you don't want to arrest Tony Blair, you don't want to arrest Nicolas Sarkozy, all these guys who have killed millions and millions of people in the Middle East, in Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, Iraq, all those countries, Libya, and other countries, but you don't want to arrest them, but you want to come for Vladimir Putin. And that's the other thing you have to understand is United States actually is not a member of ISIS, right? And actually, ISIS did try to prosecute American politicians and American military personnel, and actually United States threatened to actually arrest ISIS lawyers or staffs if they even try to prosecute United States. So they intimidate them by saying, we're going to take away the funding. We're not going to fund you guys no more if you even try to come against United States. And that's why United States stayed out of the court, because they have so much crimes and they can be prosecuted. It's not even about that United States is not a member of ISIS. You can look at the same things. Is United Kingdom is a member of ISIS, right? But Tony Blair himself, he agreed that they lied when they say Iraq had a weapon of mass destruction, and they went in there and killed millions of people, and they came after 20 years, and there was not a single evidence except the gold they stole from Iraq, except the oil they stole from Iraq. There was no sign, there was no evidence of any weapon of mass destruction. But this guy, Tony Blair, is still living in London, traveling everywhere the way he wants, makes money, do the business, do whatever he wants, and nobody's arresting him, but they want to arrest Vladimir Putin. So, what is the hypocrisy of the West, right? As I said before, the hypocrisy of the West is simple. You can look at the Iraq, right? The George Bush and Tony Blair of UK, they really went on TV and declared that Iraq has a weapon of mass destruction. They're talking about atomic bomb. And then they actually decide to invent Iraq based on that false flag, right? And the one that they spent over 20 years, billions of dollars, and killed millions of people. And guess what they gained out of that? Because they didn't find no evidence of any weapon of mass destruction. But all they found was the evidence of gold of Iraq, and they stole it. There's a lot of photos of American soldiers posing next to massive gold, right? Also, the other thing they found is oil, which they stole. And I mean, so all this is a hypocrisy where they make some false flag, they lie, and they go in your country, they destroy it, they steal everything you got, and then go back to Europe, go back to America, pet themselves how they are very good people, how they want to save the world, right? So number two is actually a very, very disturbing case is the Libya war, and the main reason I don't really like Barack Obama, right? Barack Obama unleashed the war in Libya, basically in Africa, in his father home continent, to just kill Libya for no reason, and they bragged at how Libya was, Gaddafi was a horrible person, he need to die for Libya to be free. Guess what happens? France, then Nicolas Sarkozy, Barack Obama, they teamed up together. They went to Libya, bombed everything down, bombed everything on the ground, killed thousands of people, and then they killed Gaddafi. But guess what happened after that? To this day, nobody even knows if Libya is a country or not, because there's not really any leader who is actually have any support of the citizens to actually run that country. But what did they gain from that? Before the war, Gaddafi nationalized the oil production of Libya. Actually, Gaddafi did help Africa maintain the stable price of oil by selling the oil to Africa a lot, on cheaper prices. But after they killed him, the French company Total came in and now has a control of the oil field in Libya. So the war was not really about liberating Libyans, it was about control of the oil. Number three is Afghanistan. Everybody knows the most embarrassing moment of Joe Biden when he pulled out Afghanistan. After 20-something years of embarrassment and also 20-something years of killing people, as well, trillions of dollars spent on the war, which was meaningless war for the American citizen, but was very profitable for American corporations. Afghanistan has oil, has gold, has people, has a market. So for the private corporations in America, it's a good market if we can go there and force these people to drink Coca-Cola, force these people to eat our food, as well take their gold, take their oil. It's a profitable war. But American citizens had to pay the heavy price of financing the war, but the private corporations got all the benefit out of it. So another thing is Syria. You already know how there was a big fight to removing Assad from Syria, which is very embarrassing right now for the United States, because all the talk they were talking about Syria, about president gotta go, Assad gotta go, Clinton excited, smiling with her devil smile, talking about Clinton, Assad gotta go. Assad is still standing to this day. So thanks for Russia to come on his support, but they were actually after. They were about to get him too. They were about to kill him and steal the reserve and steal the gold, and nobody will prosecute them. So the ICC hypocrisy is really long, to this point, to the point whereby he has actually lost its credibility. He has no power to prosecute anybody with power. They only have power to prosecute anybody who is vulnerable and weak. And they look Africa as a weak continent to come in and prosecute anybody they want, anybody who's not following their agenda, right? So the question is, what can Africa do to actually get out of this ISIS, or what can Africa do to actually, build its confidence, its power on the world stage? That's nobody gotta do some nonsense things like this on the continent. Number one is get out ISIS, right? South Africa right now is already talking about getting out ISIS. Some other countries have already mentioned about getting out ISIS, but you have to understand these systems are interconnected, right? You have ISIS, you have IMF, you have the World Bank, you have World Trade Organization, WTO. All these systems are connected. So the thing is, the reason why ISIS has power is because the World Bank and IMF support ISIS. Which means if you go to the ISIS or to the IMF or World Bank to borrow any money, they may require you to be a member of ISIS, so they can say, hey, we don't know if we can trust you, if you're going to run up with the money, but we want you to be the member of ISIS so we know we can actually prosecute it. So we know we actually own you. So that's the reason why they actually have people sign these stupid agreements, right? But it doesn't have to be like that. The government of Africa, they need to build themselves economically and financially to be able to withstand all this nonsense going on right now. So the first step is to get out the ISIS, and the next step is building our economies. I think borrowing money from IMF and the World Bank is not sustainable, and it's not going to get us anywhere. If we want to be independent, we have to either create our own currency, backed with our own natural resources, or create a cryptocurrency which is going to help us raise money to finance our projects, as well provide reward or incentive to the people holding that currency globally. So we can actually be able to raise money and finance productions, and finance our infrastructures, finance our healthcare, educations. Moving forward, we can now be able to get away from this Western system that has kept African leaders and African countries, as a puppet for them. The African leaders are a puppet, and they've actually kidnapped African citizens to make them pay their debt, actually spend money on American product, making them rich. So today, guys, thank you again for being with me. We release a video every Monday, So we do analysis on the economies, business, sectors. We're going to start doing a podcast too as well with some of the most interesting people in Africa for more ideas regarding this build up, of the new Africa with the new blood. So to keep up with me, make sure you go in the description and click the link, join my Telegram channel to get all the updates you need as we participate in what we're going to be doing. And the next thing is make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for every Monday video. I'm out.